Hello and welcome to Just In. I am your host, Adriana Lamar, here with Sammy Wells and Tommy Scott on this beautiful holiday Thursday. We have a lot of topics to discuss today, one of them being COVID. But before we get into that, please hit the like and subscribe button so we can continue to bring you this fabulous content and also join in on the conversation. And with that, we'll be back in just a moment. All right, welcome back. So this has been a really busy week for COVID. We have leagues canceling the rest of the season. We have games being postponed, and of course, we have players on injured reserve lists and out for protocols and all that. Tommy, give us your take.
Um, we're still dealing with the pandemic, and I think this is one of those scenarios where we're still going to operate. And I think the world should still be operating under the sense of safety first, right? It's I think I think what I saw was there are 51 players at the moment. They're all they're going through the COVID protocols and dealing with all of that, and just in the NFL by itself. And
Except Cole Beasley.
except for Cole Beasley, he's not. But the thing being, when you look at this, I think a lot of folks that don't like it, because that's kind of what we hear the most about, is the folks that, the game's getting pushed to Tuesday, makes it a short week, come the next week. Things like that come up. Somebody can't play. You got key starters being out. I think, what it was, Kansas City's got 3 big names out, this upcoming week. And so, the Saints too. The Saints are going to be. It looks like they're going to be starting a rookie quarterback. So, it's something to consider, that we don't have to have had a season at all, right? It would have been well within, I would say, the realm of not necessarily insane to basically said, okay, well, it's still not safe, because I think something to consider. We haven't seen this, but from a business standpoint, the athletes that are out there playing these games that we love watching are millions of dollars of an investment that a team is making, right? It's and on top of that, it turns out, we didn't know this, it's a new thing, but it turns out they're human and have families, friends. They've got this whole thing outside of football. It's just weird and amazing. Who knew? Nobody knew.
I
Nobody
hear that's called life.
Yes, it's that weird thing.
Some of us have them, some of us don't.
Yeah, some of us don't. I don't. Pretty much how you see me right now. This is what I look like during the week. I just sit here and wait for the show to come back on. Occasionally, I might take a shower. Once a week, whether I need it or not. But
and your wife says.
She just gets the water hose out. She's like, yep, just I don't care. Just
she's like, rotate. All right.
So put me in the spinning chair. But no, it's when you look just across the landscape of things, and you look at how lucky we really have been as a country, in general, since COVID started. We've had the impact's been there, but it's been kept manageable through the things that we've done as far as shutting things down, and the other government programs, things that have gone on, and then people just being reasonable, people being, getting vaccinated, and doing their part, with wearing masks and everything, just to stop this from spreading. And we're kind of in a good spot, I think. And, just because things are getting canceled, things are getting postponed, players are here, they're necessary evils right now. And, the one thing that I think some folks aren't getting throughout this whole thing is, yes, we've got the different variants coming out. A lot of these variants, every time we see a new one, it tends to, be easier to spread, right? But the impact of it, as far as, the severe side effects and death, keeps getting smaller. So as long as we keep, we keep within these protocols, we stay in, vigilant in there and work around it as best we can, we're going to continue and ultimately, hopefully, move to that spot where, is COVID going to be completely gone? No, but it's going to be knocked down to the level of cold and flu, where it's kind of like, hey, now you've kind of got it set up that it's not that huge impact that everybody's worrying about, especially when you're talking about games where, think about it. We know the players that have tested positive, right? But I don't know, when I looked, I didn't find a whole lot of data that's kept track of how many of the fans that went to games and came out of it, came out of it with COVID. I haven't been able to find much hard data on that. I know that, uh, my brother-in-law recently went to a wedding. He went to a wedding. Um, Next day, pretty much the entire wedding party is positive for COVID because somebody started showing symptoms. Everybody went and got checked, and everybody tested positive except for him. He didn't test positive. He's also the only one of them that went ahead and said, "Hey, I'll just go ahead and get vaccinated." About when his turn came up, everybody else didn't believe in it. Now they all tested positive for COVID. They're stuck waiting for negative tests so they can get on a plane and go home. He's tested I think 3 or 4 times now, and all of them have come back negative. So he's free. He's free to go, right? And that's one of these areas where we're just going to have to learn to deal with it, especially in sports, because as much as we love sports, like it's still just sports, right? This is a game. It's fun to watch. It's entertaining, but um, it's a game, and it's not worth people's lives. And especially when you're looking at guys that are in that position where, hey, this guy's 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 30, where he's got more than 5 years left to go on his career, and basically being in a spot where it's like, hey, we're just going to risk the whole rest of my career so that we can make sure that Friday night or Saturday, Sunday or Thursday or Monday, whatever, so we can make sure that one thing happens. And it's just not. That's just a bad bet. And when we looked at the games that happened on Tuesday, they happened on Tuesday because the initial plan was those games were just going to be canceled, and it was just going to be these games aren't going to happen. The teams basically agreed to say, okay, we'll play on Tuesday and deal with the short week. That was the compromise of it, right? It could have been much worse. And I think with sports in general, I think we're at a spot where people just need to be reasonable and open their minds and accept the fact that we're still going to be impacted by this, and find the compromise, find what works out best for safety. And much like the analogy on Facebook, right, was we're all in kindergarten and we're in that time where the teacher's like, you guys can go to recess as soon as everybody's quiet, and you're looking at two people that just won't stop talking, and you're like, dude, I get it, you don't want to stop talking, but if you did, then we could all go outside and we could all talk together. And so we need you. Yes, we need you to do that. You have to do your part. So that's my consideration of it. It sucks. We're not getting out of this with the whole like, oh well, this was just fun for everybody. Like that's not going to happen. We're looking at the lesser of two evils here. So I'm like, but we just we hope and pray for the safety of everybody, the folks that tested positive.
Absolutely.
We hope that their families stay safe, that they stay safe, and that it's all mild cases. But the further we get down the road from this, the more folks get vaccinated, the more we get past all of this. We can just go back to regular, let's just have fun life and not have to worry about getting halfway between your car and the store entrance and it's raining and going, crap, my mask is in the car. So I'd like to get to past that part. So that's my thoughts on
past the part where you
scenario.
have one in each pocket of your jeans, plus your sweater jacket, plus on the dash of your car, in the hopes that you don't have to run back out in the rain to get one that you forgot.
Right.
Yes, that is the hope.
What about you, Sam? What are your feelings about all this?
My feelings of this. First, I'm going to speak about the how the NFL has been encouraging all the players to get vaccinated, to do their part in the situation. They have not mandated all players to get vaccinated. They did give them the choice too, saying that, hey, if you get vaccinated, this is the time that you if you do get COVID, this is the time that you will be out. Since you did get vaccinated, this is the time that you're going to be out. They also said if you're not going to get vaccinated, then this is the time that you're going to be out. That's something that the NFL and the union work together to create. So I am tired of players, NFL players, that get COVID. I wish them the best. I hope that they don't have any symptoms at all and they get through it, have a recovery. But my thing is, for you, you should not complain. The NFL gave you a choice. You decided to go with a decision that you were not going to get vaccinated. So this is what you have to be out. I have to commend Cooper on the Dallas Cowboys for not complaining about being out 2 games because he had contracted COVID. The other thing is that you have wide receiver Cole Beasley that has come out complaining, and then you have Baker that came out and complaining about this rule is stupid and everything else. I shouldn't be out. You know what? You made the decision to do that. The NFL gave you a decision. You made your decision. Now you support your decision. Now that you contracted the virus, you have to be out for these games. You can't come back as quick as somebody who is vaccinated. You made that choice. And I don't want to hear about you complaining about it because you made the choice. The second thing is this, is that people need to start taking the responsibility. We could have been out of this pandemic if everybody would have put on a mask. It was said that we could have saved over 250,000 people if they would have just put on a mask during this pandemic. So people are tired of talking about COVID. Then if you're tired about it, then do what's responsible. Either get vaccinated. If you're not going to get vaccinated, get tested every day so that you are not giving it to somebody else and harming them. I'm tired. I'm tired of hearing the complaining about oh, you know, I have to get vaccinated to be to go into this place. It is a private it is a private business. If they want you to be vaccinated and that is their rules, that's that business rule. That is a private industry. They can be able to decide to say, hey, you can't come in. Or if they don't care, you can be able to be unvaccinated and go into places. But I just wish that people would stop complaining about their choices that they made.
Yeah, it's hard too, because if you were to say, all right, you tested positive for the flu, we want you to stay home, it's not politicized, and people would be like, yeah, man, that makes sense. I don't want everybody else on my team puking and, unable to play a game. But as soon as you mention the word COVID, everybody loses their mind. It's like, well, I shouldn't have to do, blah, blah, blah. And it's a little bit like, a 3-year-old. You've given him 2 choices. He chose one of them, and now he doesn't like the choice that he made, but he could have made a different choice the entire time. And the problem here is the choice impacts you and nobody else, but the outcomes that we're trying to prevent impact literally everyone around you. So at the point that you have made your decision, you don't get to talk about what happens afterwards. You don't get to, you can complain about it all you want, but it's irrelevant, because at that point, now we're protecting all the people who might come in contact with you. It's not just about you anymore. And to me, I feel it's unprofessional to sit there and say, okay, I know that my employer and my union have come together and negotiated this process, and I'm going to bitch and whine about the entire thing. It's like, are you a professional player or are you not? You pick one. You can't be both. In other words, you can't be a professional and also complain about what your organization has collectively decided.
Yeah, and that's we had a couple of situations like that I've dealt with, right? Where you talk about flu, especially when you get to things where it's the the quote unquote stomach flu. When that goes around, even when it's regular flu, I tend to, if I get the flu, I will get the flu and the stomach flu. I can get the stomach flu without getting the flu, right? But if I get the flu, I'm getting both. And I've always been very susceptible to it. And anything that involves my digestive system usually means at some point I'm going to make a trip to the emergency room, because apparently you go 2 or 3 days with your body not being able to absorb water. I found that it wasn't a good thing, right? So, and for me, I'll literally be in that spot where nothing stays in; it's all coming out. And not that I need people to do anything special, but it would always drive me nuts when folks would literally show up to work at a job where all you need is a computer and the internet. You do not need to be anywhere specific. You can do this from home. People would show up to work sick. They know they're sick. They look sick. You can look at them across the parking lot and tell they're sick. But it's like that, well, I can still do some work. And it's like, I'm thinking to myself, like,
You can still do some work on your couch, bro.
yeah, it's like it's like you're putting everybody else, specifically me. Like for me, it's health. For the other part of me is like, being in a spot where, I've got a team. Yeah, the last thing I want you to do is get in here. Okay, great. I'm so happy that that you were just like, I'm gonna come in, but gotta make sure I get this work out. I'm happy. Yeah, now everybody else is sick, so now no
You're like,
work is
don't be a
getting
hero,
done.
man. Don't be a
Yeah,
hero.
don't be a hero. And even that, I work for a place where, let's see, how much sick time do we get every year? Oh, it's unlimited. If it's longer than 2 weeks, then you have to go out on short-term disability. Oh, that's right. Employer pays for the short-term disability, and the policy basically states if you're out for more than 2 weeks, you go out on short-term disability. You just need a doctor's note. Oh, we'll just keep paying you like you were here. We'll just keep doing that. It's easier that way. Less paperwork. All we need is the doctor's note, right? And people don't want to take advantage of it. Feel bad, all that. And I'm like, I get it. You feel bad, but consider, as you said, how the impact to the rest of the population is, and suddenly you'll realize that being a hero, that's the guy on the couch that stayed home. That's the hero guy. Sam, you mentioned choices, and it reminded me of something that happened a couple of weeks ago at my son's school, where there was a kid contracted COVID. A couple parents were upset that their child had to stay home because their child, and these are these kids are old enough to be vaccinated. Their children weren't vaccinated, and so their child had to stay at home, and they're upset and outraged because their kids are missing out on school and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm thinking to myself, well, the email they sent out, it said, yeah, if your child's vaccinated and isn't showing any symptoms, they don't even have to get tested. It's like for the kids that are unvaccinated, I think they got to be home for like 3 or 4 days, or it's got to be not home for 3 or 4 days. It's got to be 3 or 4 days, or maybe about 5 days, right, from whenever that child that tested positive or whoever tested positive, whenever that contact was, right? So if they don't find out for 5 days, well, the 5 days has already passed. But then they have to get tested to make sure that they're not, right? And so it's like all that has to be done. And it's kind of one of those, like, as you said, Sam, they're giving you this option where it's like, hey, you don't have to get vaccinated, but this is how it works. If you're vaccinated, we can do this. If you're not vaccinated, we can do that. And folks are upset about it. And it's just one of those, like, you're at least given fair options that apply even, relatively evenly across the board, because like our whole entire society is set up like that, where it's, hey, this is a simple example, I know, and it's like literally, if you've got 20% of a down payment, you don't have to pay this extra $400 or $500 a month of mortgage insurance on your home. But if you don't, you do. So if you have money, then you can keep more of it. If you don't have money, you have to give up more of it. And nobody complains. Like nobody sees that as like, well, this is kind of weird. It's like, but when it comes to health, which I would say is much more, much more protected than owning a home. There we're up in arms that, hey, it's not fair. It's none of your business, whatever. And it's just kind of like, hey, in reality, in both cases, all you're trying to do is create a situation where everybody can play well together. And when things go bad, it's handled, right? That's really all it is that
it's fair for both sides.
Yeah, is that if things don't work out, then there's a plan B that you can run to, and that you can get that in action, and you're finding out what that plan B is up front. And if those are the options and you choose to go, I'm going to send my kids to school, you're agreeing to those options. So when one of them happens, there's no complaining. You agreed to it. That was part of the contract. Now you have to live up to your side of it. So it's, and again, it's one of those things where there just seems to be, it's an overwhelming number of people that are typically complaining about it because they're the same folks that have the, it's like, I have a God-given right to not wear a mask and da 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 da. And it's like, well, okay, you do. You can choose.
Well,
hey, you make your choices. You don't get to choose your consequences.
Right. And I think that brings up a good point too. the loudest folks complaining are the ones who've barely lifted a finger to do anything to fight COVID and prevent its spread amongst the community. And so it always astounds me when those people are complaining, because there are some of us who have been compliant from day one. You think you're tired? Really? What about all of us who've been wearing masks for over a year now, a year and a half? What about us? You know, I mean, and we're still doing it, barely complaining, if we're complaining at all. And yet we got to hear you mouth off, and you've literally done nothing to help.
Yeah. Well, the folks that the other spot that I found myself in because of COVID and because of the lackadaisical approach to it, there's a lot of stuff that over a lifetime of bad decisions have torn my body to pieces. And over the past 2 years since COVID started, everything that I need to get done just add 6-7 months to it, because I got to wait because, well, we can't do that right now because the hospital's overloaded with COVID patients. And I get it. That's a little bit more important than fixing my rotator cuff or whatever, right? I'll give them that. But 2 years into it, and we're still kind of faced with this, like, uh-oh, we're getting close, right? And a large part of
I can't get treatment for something that causes me pain every day because y'all are out there making bad decisions.
Yeah. And we went out to the mall yesterday, and we're living in California. It's a little different out here than I think some of the other places, but it just still drove me nuts that you go through there, and it almost represents almost vaccination stuff in here, where you got like 80% of the state is vaccinated, and then you got 20% that's not. And of that 20%, 10% of them are the handful of nitwits that are just walking through the mall, no mask on. Security comes up and says, "Hey, per whatever rule, you got to wear a mask." They put the mask on, complain about it. Security guard walks off, and they take it off because you can't tell me what to do. And it's it's just one of those where it's like, dude, you guys are why we're here. So,
Sam, final thought?
Yeah, I would just say that I don't have kids, but I've seen parents get more upset about their kid going to school than them catching COVID. That is kind of weird to me. I think I would be more concerned about my kid catching COVID than them going to school.
Well, and I think that's an interesting sort of situation too, because you do have the parents who are like, not just catching COVID or going to school, but how dare you force my child to wear a mask in school? They can't breathe. And here I have a toddler, there's no vaccine even available for her. And I don't want to send her to daycare because I know people who have sent their young children to daycare who've come home, had COVID, and given it to the entire rest of the household. And so it's just this weird dichotomy of the how dare you force us to, adhere to the, controls for this fake sickness. And then you have the rest of us over here who are like, okay, some of these kids who are getting COVID are left with a lifetime of respiratory dysfunction. And you don't know which of those kids it's going to be. And do you take that chance that it's your kid? And for me, the answer is no, I'm not taking that chance. I'm glad that I have the opportunity that I can make that decision and she can be at home with my husband and I. Not everyone does, though. And so when you have parents who are lackadaisical and sending their kids to school complaining about wearing masks, not thinking about all the other kids who can't get vaccinated, who are doing the best they can to adhere to protocols, and you're out there like it's this fake disease, even though over 1 million people globally have died, it's like, where do you get, how do you grow to become so selfish and narcissistic? How does that happen?
800,000 over 800,000 people who died in the U.S. from COVID. We need to find a better way to get this down. It's going 2 years in. I'm just saying, everybody go to your doctor, go to your physician, whoever does your health, get their recommendation, and then make your choice from them. If they give you a choice, if you're not getting vaccinated, put on your mask, do your part.
Yep. All right, well, thanks for listening. Okay, on to happier subjects. Let's talk about this weekend's game between the Browns and the Packers after a quick break.